Good morning, India, and welcome to Gunner Short and PGurus joint podcast today on the ceasefire on the rocks of Hormuz. And joining me today, as usual, in the morning is Sri IRG. Good morning and welcome. So, what are your thoughts on this ceasefire on the rocks of Hormuz or the rocky Straits of Hormuz? Initial thoughts, and then we'll get into the whole thing.
Yeah, so the initial thought is it even going to take place, General Shankar? Because the Iranian contingent is saying that we are not going to go to Islamabad unless Israel stops firing on Lebanon or Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Yeah.
And Israel said that the two are separate. And it looks like some miscommunication is there. We know first it was going to be Vice President plus Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. But what I saw was Vice President and the Secretary of State. I don't know. I'd like to leave that, whoever is there. But I think the American contingent is on its way. And what Pakistan has done is they have completely cordoned off the city of Islamabad. There's a lot of social media stuff saying that they are not letting anybody come in or go out.
Yeah. Look, that's why this caricature. Both are sitting on rocks, the Gulf of Hormuz in the background. And of course, this guy, the peace dove called Shaba Sharif. But look at this. What is this? This is a program, Chavi jo dete hain. I got this and I put together all this and I said, look, this is how it's going to be. But let's get going with what's there, what the New York Times says. It talks of NATO coming into this scene. How NATO is going to come into the scene is $1 million question as far as I'm concerned at this point of time. Israel agrees to talks with Lebanon but keeps striking Hezbollah. So that's the fly in this entire ointment. It's not one fly. There's so many flies in this ointment. One of the flies, right? Iran's battered leaders emerge from war confident but with new cards. This is very interesting. I read through the article and we'll discuss it maybe next time. How will Iran emerge from this conflict? And a lot of people are saying victory for Iran. But this article very dispassionately talks of it's not going to be easy for Iran. So people who talk of victory for Iran have to look beyond. Like I always say, the politics of war will take over now, and that is scary for Iran. I'd be very upfront about it, right? And to that extent, I think Iran has lost. Of course, USA has lost on different counts, but we'll discuss who's won, who's lost. Maybe it'll be a very interesting discussion one of these days. Okay. Israel complicates Trump's push for peace with Iran. It's there, which you mentioned. What does Al Jazeera say? Israel's Lebanon attacks threaten US-Iran ceasefire as negotiations near. We'll talk of this. US-Iran talks in Pakistan. Who's attending? Right? And then this was yesterday's. At US ceasefire shaky as strikes on Lebanon and confusion over straits grow. A lot of things. We'll talk of all that. Then, yesterday, I'm going back a little because we didn't do this thing yesterday. And a lot of people have been killed. The Israeli attack on Lebanon and basically Hezbollah was devastating. Huge. And this is going to have an effect. It's already cast a short shadow on the, whole talks process. And today morning, as I was getting ready, I saw this, that Iran media says talks in Pakistan have been suspended. And they say till this is what you're just mentioning, till Israel stops military offensive in Lebanon. And the talks are getting suspended even before they've started. Okay. And interestingly, this is coming from within Pakistan. Why? Israel now says, their anti-Semitic comments from within Pakistan. Khwaja Asif, he's gone and said he's called for Israel's annihilation. Cannot tolerate this from a neutral arbiter. So this is what Israel says. So this is going to have its own effect as we go along. We'll see how it happens. So, like you said earlier, before the whole thing starts, this is likely to stop. Your views on this, and then we'll go to the next point.
I'm curious as to why this Khwaja Asif guy said what he said. Is he not the foreign minister, sir? He's a foreign minister?
No, he's a defense minister. He's a defense minister. But I must say that this fellow has got a bloody loose mouth. He's a motor mouth.
Sir, there's also some other things that are possible. See, there are factions within Pakistan, even within the army. Who knows, if somebody is not very happy with the way Field Marshal is getting things done, so try to strike a discordant note. Chorus, discordant note stands out. These guys are jokers. I tell you, they should be shouldering this responsibility properly, doing a good job, and instead, they are singing in different voices. Sir.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how Pakistan is. We all know that, right? And we leave it at that. But the good news, there's some good news. There are no aerial attacks from Iran today. This is what Al Jazeera came. And this has been confirmed by UAE airspace, free of any air threats. This is officially from the UAE, Ministry of Defense. So, after the first 24 hours, it's been 48 hours since people started talking of, ceasefire and all that. So, first 24 hours, there were firing going on. Second 24 hours, things have stopped. So, people are serious. People who said, no, Iran doesn't want to negotiate and all, I don't think it's right. Iran was having a tough profile earlier, but now they've got down to this. Now it's Iran is still furious and all that. That's there. Iran is insisting that the strikes on Lebanon and Hezbollah stop, and that's what is coming back again and again and again. But I think they will get down to it. There's a lot of bluster on, and okay. Now, this is something else which has come, a new angle in this story. That Iran's deputy foreign minister has said the Strait of Hormuz is open to all civilian shipping. All vessels need to liaise with Iran. Iran will guide ships along safe routes. See, this is a double-edged thing. He says, look, it's open, but you have to go through my channel. Okay?
Because they have mined a lot of places.
That's the thing which he's saying. That's what he has said. Okay? What he has said is, they mind, so you go through I'll give you a safe channel. But in giving the safe channel, he still controls the Strait of Hormuz. So you see the trick which Iran is playing, right? Saying that you can only go through, and it is a unilateral passage being given. Okay, so is the Strait of Hormuz still open after this kind of a thing? Is a question mark. So these are the question marks which are already coming up before the first word across the table has started. Okay, that's what he said. He's also said, look, we were on the verge of hitting back. This is the guy, Khatibzadeh. In fact, he had come to India also in the Raisina dialogues. He said, look, we were on the verge of striking back Israel yesterday, but Pakistan restrained us. Well, good luck to Pakistan for all that. Now, there's one report which comes out that JD Vance might not be going to Islamabad. So we don't know the composition. What I'm trying to say is there are a lot of reports and contradictory reports coming out from various handles. So the way I look at it, till the talk start, we shouldn't put our bet on anything, right? And so I thought, and of course, there is this thing.
We'll be hanging around.
Can you'll have to confirm if you're hearing me or not, okay?
We're not going anywhere. We're going to make sure Iran complies with this ceasefire, and then ultimately comes to the table and makes a deal. So we'll stay put, stay ready, stay vigilant, as the chairman laid out. Our troops are prepared to defend, prepared to go on offense, prepared to restart at a moment's notice with whatever target package would be needed in order to ensure that Iran complies. As far as the Strait, you saw the initial agreement that was struck, which is Iran's letting ships go through. So there'll be that will be happening. They will be sailing, and ultimately, as the president, we've done an incredible job.
Yeah. So he is very clear. We're going to be here. We're not going anywhere away. We're going to ensure this whole thing goes through, and we are ready to restart at the moment's notice. So don't think this ceasefire. If the talks fail and the ceasefire doesn't hold, the whole thing restarts. And this time, if there's a restart, I think it will be far more horrible. Okay. Now, there's also, I mean, let's also be clear. USA has had nothing to do with the 10-point deal and all that. He says the 10-point deal which has come out from Pakistan or rather Iran, they've debunked it. So those of us who think that USA is going there to agree or discuss that 10-point deal, I think we are in a different space. There are different deals going around, different versions of this 10-point program which is on. The maximalistic program or the maximalistic demand of Iran is what is in the media. So we should not jump the gun, right? And in this, this is what Vance, I think Vance is coming out as the critical player who's going to set the tone. He's already set the tone, and I'm going to play a few clips. And he said, "President is no one to mess around with, and if Islamic Republic of Iran doesn't come to the negotiating table, he's going to do what he wants." And that's what Hexeth also says. So let's hear, and then we'll discuss this whole story. Yeah.
What the president has said is that we don't want Iran to have the capacity to build a nuclear weapon. The president's also said that we don't want Iran enriching towards a nuclear.
So the first thing is very clear. USA will not accept enrichment. USA will not accepting atomic weapon with Iran. That is very clear. That's probably the red line.
Weapon, and we want Iran to give up the nuclear fuel. Those are going to be our demands during the negotiation. And again, we're going to see what the Iranians are willing to give up. If they make a good faith effort to actually give us the things that we need to have a successful negotiation for the security of the American people, I think there's a lot on the other end. If they don't give us what we need, then I think it's going to be bad. But I'm optimistic that the Iranians are going to be smart, that they're going to negotiate in good faith.
He's already dangled a carrot in this. That I can give you more. And then what I can give you more is the sanctions part and all that. Which I think if it happens, it's good for everyone. And then this also.
About Iran, sir. So let me just say, given that you guys are going to ask about Iran, let me just say a few things actually. So number one, I think it's very important for the American media to be honest with the American people on this particular issue, because it affects not just, the normal issues of public policy. It actually affects peace and war. And here's what I mean. So in the past couple of days, I've seen a lot of reporting from the American media about the 10-point proposal that the Iranians have made. Now, as I know, because I've been involved in this, there are 3 different 10-point proposals, at least, that I've seen floating around.
So he's making it very clear. 3 different 10-point proposals which have been made. Right.
The first 10-point proposal was something that was submitted, and we think, frankly, was probably written by ChatGPT, that was submitted to Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. That immediately went in the garbage and was rejected. There was a second 10-point proposal that was much more reasonable, that was based on some back and forth between us, between the Pakistanis and Indians. That is the 10-point proposal that the president was referencing in his truth yesterday. And then, frankly, I've seen a third 10-point proposal that's even more maximalist than the first 10-point proposal that's been floating around various social media channels. Now, here's what's interesting about all this, is that I've seen various organs, the New York Times, CNN, others, pick up and run the original 10-point proposal based on little more than a random Yahoo in Iran submitting it to public access television in the country of Iran, and then them saying that somehow represents the negotiating position of the government. It's the equivalent of somebody in, let's say, a Democratic councilman in Boise, Idaho, saying something crazy, the local public access TV picking up that crazy.
Yeah. So your views on this, what he's saying, the US position and the 10-point proposal, and yeah.
So you have 2 things going on. That, of course, what they said is very true. that somebody just made it up and then it was played up. But it is also believed that Pakistan played some mischief, that it gave the version of US to Iran what Iran wanted to hear, and it gave a version of Iran proposal to US what US wanted to hear. So never discount Pakistan's role in all these things.
I completely agree with you. This is typical Pakistan. But then that's Pakistan. And this is the way the cards are going to be played out. Right? You can't run away from it. And of course, Vance has come out with something, let's hear.
Things. First of all, I actually think, and there's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith, propaganda going on. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran, and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states.
So he's very clearly put it out. The ceasefire doesn't cover Lebanon or Israel and Hezbollah. Well, he's made his point clear, but Iran has made its point clear today by saying we will not, do what we have to do and all that, or we'll not come for the talks. So how this impasse will get along or not, we'll know 24 hours tomorrow. Today we are on Friday. Tomorrow the talks will start or not start, and then we'll see where it goes. Okay. Let me so who are the guys who are going to talk? Bagher Galibaf, Muhammad Galibaf, and Vance. They are the main negotiators from both sides. On the Iran side, it is Galibaf with Arakchi. On the US side, it is Vance with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Okay. The interesting thing is they say Galibaf is someone they trust to work with and believe he could help position Iran as a key US ally. Now, this is the interesting thing, right? Have they turned Galibaf around? If they have turned Galibaf around and they come to a deal, that would be a great victory politically for USA. Right? I think that would be the best outcome which USA wants. I don't know, because Galibaf is one of the people. He was the Speaker of the House, and in their parliament, people, when they were chanting "Dead to America," he was also joining in the chant for "Dead to America."
He was an IRGC general, sir. He was an IRGC general.
Yeah. I'm not, but what I'm trying to put across is, with this kind of a thing, what are your views on this? What is come out? Key ally of USA.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility, and I think see, there are again two schools of thought that the United States might, given a choice to deal between Pezeshkian and Galibaf, they may actually choose Pezeshkian because he's known as a moderate and he knows how politics is run. It's still possible that Galibaf is in the backseat and Pezeshkian and Agrachi are the outward-facing faces. As long as Iran figures out that it is in their best interest to align with the United States rather than continue this self-destructive path, I think that's good. Sir, many friends of mine who live in Dubai have told that they have friends from Iran living in Dubai and that Iran has been completely leveled. It's not coming out because they don't have internet access at this point.
No, I completely agree with you. I go with you. I think Iran has come to a thing where they have no choice but to negotiate. They can't continue like that.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be very clear. And that's why they've started negotiating. But what I'm going to say now, I mean, it's not a thing. I think this Galibaf will be the key. And he's IRGC chap and he's political, both. He has more, like what I go with what you're saying. Pezeshkian is the more acceptable face, but this chap is a guy, I think, who has more power of the IRGC because he was ex-IRGC and some political power. And I don't know what's the status of that Khamenei, who's the supreme leader.
Mujtaba Khamenei.
Mustafa Khamenei. We don't know because he's not come out. We don't know. So we'll see how it goes. If this fellow is turned around by USA, then this will have a lot of positive outcomes for USA and the entire region and for Iran. For people of Iran, it will be a great change. And what you're saying is right. They're leveled. I mean, their steel plants are gone. Their economy is in bad shape. As it is before this, the economy was in dumps. A huge hyperinflation. So, if you go back 2 months back, we were discussing, will Iran, is it the second revolution in Iran?
Right.
Okay, so Iran, it's very easy to say I have won the war, but uske baad kya karoge? What do you do? After you won the war, and if you won the war and you can't, and there's something very interesting I saw today, which is something fundamental, and I mean I must say that I didn't think of it. The thought came many times, but it just said no, no, no. I kept rejecting it. Let me tell you, US has got a suboptimal option. I won't say suboptimal option, a sub-conventional option to close off Karg Island. Don't touch Hormuz. Don't touch Hormuz. Okay, just cut off Karg Island, which they can do. Don't attack Karg Island. No attacks, no boots on ground, nothing. Okay, just cut off those jetties, take them out, which US can do. Push some coastal, Coast Guard boats in, which they have. UAE has, Saudi Arabia has, and everyone. US can take them and put marines, ring fence Karg Island, and cut off Karg Island oil. Cut off any shipping touching Karg Island, and that pressure on Iran will be much, much more. Right? I think that's an option which USA has not had used and can use. And of course, which I said that Abadan, oil refinery captured that, which is well within the thing. I mean, look, we have to still think military. This whole story is not done. So these 2-3 things are there in this whole story, which I thought I'll pull out. Then your views on, or should I go ahead?
Just one thing. See, add to what you said. They can also come from Kuwait. Kuwait is also very close to Karg Island. Kuwait, Bahrain, and UAE.
Yeah, you're right. What you said is right. Geographically, I mean, I'm not saying from where they can come. They don't have to come from Strait of Hormuz. From there.
Right. They can do it in a different way. Correct.
Yeah, and getting a few good boats, small ones, which can cut off Karg Island and cut it off by fire. You use fire. You can take off all the jetties and everything by aircraft and ring fence it. The moment you ring fence Karg Island, that's my first option actually today. But we'll see how it goes. This whole story, how it goes. Right. Yeah. And in the meanwhile, the Iran, is doing its wowing and but it looks. This article is interesting. It says Iran has started looking at China as a security guarantor. I don't know. I couldn't make out whether this is a planted article by China. Right? This is in New York Times or otherwise. Right? So I don't see China coming in. I don't know whether US will accept it or this is just a red herring thrown in. A lot of games are being played on. Yeah. But here comes the person with the guns. He's got both the holsters and ready to fire. He's the cowboy in that OK Corral. He says we have still goals to accomplish. We will achieve them either through agreement or through renewal of war. We are ready to do so whenever necessary. He's not happy. He's not happy with anyone in this deal. Okay. He's just going with Trump at this point of time. Whether he'll accept a deal or not is also not there. So he's the googly in this whole story, and this pitch is as it is in the fifth day pitch, and on this he's the googly bowler who's in top form. So we'll see where this goes. Right? Okay. Here's this also. These are tanker traffic through Strait of Hormuz. I'm going to switch to Hormuz, halted by Iran. Iran accuses Israel of breaking ceasefire. All this, and this is all coming from Fox. So the traffic through Hormuz is not yet opened. Let's be very clear. Okay, now what is the? I'll take you through now through different viewpoints from different people. Okay, so that we get a hang of what the whole international thought is about Strait of Hormuz. In this, the former Qatari defense attaché says that the Middle East has changed forever. The relationship between the Gulf and Iran has changed. It won't go back to the previous status quo. So he says this is gone. So the new architecture has to be something which people have to think of. And Qatar coming out with this is important, and it puts Iran on a political corner. See, Qatar was the mediator for all with Iran. And if Qatar has said sorry, then things are in a bad shape, right? And then Oman, he's also come out with this statement on Strait of Hormuz. Oman has signed all international maritime transport agreements. The Strait of Hormuz is a natural passage created without human intervention. Therefore, fees cannot be imposed on it according to the international agreement signed by Sultanate. Now, this negates two things, right? One, Iran was approaching Oman. Let's get together and impose a tax. So that he's got out of it, Oman. And then Oman says we go by international routes. So which makes Iran's position on this Hormuz Strait as one-sided. So it
Yeah.
weakens the that whole story. And then of course the Russian president or earlier Prime Minister Medvedev, he says it's not clear how the truce between Washington and Tehran will play out. One thing is certain: Iran has tested its nuclear weapons, and it's called the Strait of Hormuz. Its potential is inexhaustible. So Hormuz is the new nuclear weapon with Iran. So, which is right actually. This is a nuclear option which they've exercised, and they can turn the tap on and off anytime they want. So Iran has now two nuclear weapons, one the Strait of Hormuz and this. So it's not as if Iran doesn't have cards to play. But will they? How long will this card go on? We don't know. And this is the view from the Gulf states. Listen to this.
First, so the GCC countries are extremely concerned now about the status of the Strait of Hormuz. So it's not clear through the President Trump's statement or the statement that was released by the Iranian side through their Supreme National Security Council. So it's not clear whether throughout these 15 days there will be the toll fees being charged on the vessels that are going to get in the strait and out. And overall, what will be the status of the Strait of Hormuz? The Iranians are still insisting that they want to keep their control of the Strait of Hormuz, and the GCC countries are saying, well, that's not acceptable because first, so 20% of the crude oil globally and 20% of the LNG is passing through that Strait of Hormuz, and overwhelming majority of that belongs to the GCC countries. But GCC countries are also having the reserve, 33% of the global oil reserve, 21% of the natural gas reserves. And so Iran keeping the control over the Strait of Hormuz and charging the toll fees practically means charging the GCC countries. And GCC countries saying that, well, they will not allow any change in the status of Strait of Hormuz. Whether that's going to be addressed through the negotiations that are planned to be taking place in Islamabad or not, that's a huge question mark.
Yeah, this is the Al Jazeera clip, and I thank Al Jazeera for using it. Courtesy Al Jazeera, it has come to you. But having said that, these are very important things which have come out, right? And I'm
First,
going to show you one more clip, which is a very interesting clip, and this is from Singapore. And this, you know, have a look at it. You'll understand this is about Malacca Strait.
The Straits of Malacca, the Straits of Singapore, is in fact another critical choke point. You may be aware that, in fact, if you add up all the maritime oil, crude and refined, you might be surprised that actually more flows through the Straits of Malacca and Singapore than even the Straits of Hormuz. If you think about global trade, container trade, there's far more flowing through this place. And the most important geographical fact, which most people are not aware of, the narrowest point in the Straits of Hormuz is 21 nautical miles. Guess what the narrowest point in the Straits of Singapore is? It's less than 2 nautical miles. So do you understand now why we have to take a categorical position that international law and UNCLOS is the constitution of the oceans, and this is a right. Freedom of navigation as a right and not a privilege for ships and planes. And this is of profound importance to Singapore. So to your specific question, yes, I have engaged with the Iranian foreign minister before the war. And yes, I'm sure I will engage him in the near future. But as a matter of principle, and not because we're taking sides, I cannot engage in negotiations for safe passage of ships or negotiate on toll rates, because to do so would be implicitly eroding this legal principle. So again, this is another example of Singapore upholding principle, not taking sides.
So upholding principle and not taking sides, you heard the Singapore viewpoint, you heard the Oman viewpoint, you heard the Qatari viewpoint, and you heard the Gulf GCC viewpoint through Al Jazeera. And where does this place Iran? And where does this place the Strait of Hormuz? It's for all of you to think, but I would like, Shriyarji, your views on this.
Sir, Iran is, it's being played by China. See, China has this habit, even when an international court rules against it, it says, no, I don't accept it. That's because I see the same thing in the Strait of Hormuz. And they don't want to play by the rules. So somewhere these guys need to be shown their place. And how that's going to happen, I don't know. And it smacks of China telling, do this, do this, do this. And Iran is doing that, which is really sad. Iran is a proud civilizational country. Why are you listening to somebody? In fact, sir, one thing I have to say, right after COVID or around March 2020, what had happened was half a dozen Iranian ministers went to China and they came back and they all died. You remember that?
Yeah.
So and Iran and Italy were the first two countries that faced the outbreak of COVID before it was announced as a pandemic and all that stuff. And I thought Iran would get wizened by that and that they would, try to keep their distance with China. On the other hand, what we are seeing is a complete allowing themselves to be manipulated by China. That's how it looks like, sir. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think so. So
I'll put it this way. Iran is playing. Iran plays. See, I've always said Iran doesn't trust China fully. And if you go into the history, they've never trusted. So Iran is playing China along and China is playing Iran. So both are doing, hide and seek with each other kind of a story. So let's see how, I'm not confident that China can play Iran. If China is doing this place, they're foolish. You see, look at what the Singapore person has said, Vivian Balakrishnan. It's only 2 more nautical miles. It's far easier to close the Strait of Malacca than the Strait of Hormuz. If that is, and look, it doesn't need Singapore or Indonesia to close the Strait of Malacca. You don't need. India can do it without any
Right.
problems.
Right.
Okay, far more easier. So, or USA can do it, Australia can do it, anyone can do it, and along with it, there are two, three other straits: the Lombok, PTR for. I'm forgetting this anyway. I'm not getting the exact this thing. Lombok Straits,
Really?
Lombok Straits, and the Onid VTR states, they can be blocked. It's not a big deal. If that happens, it hits China far more. Okay, it hits China far more. And if China is playing this game with through Iran, they can get it back. And if that happens, China's in a bad shape. And I'm going to do a program on China shortly, either today evening, maybe not today evening, or maybe tomorrow evening. But we'll get to that because
Yeah.
China is in a bad shape actually. I mean, as of today, their complete aircraft industry is down. Okay. So they're in a thing. We'll talk of that separately. So let's see how this goes. To all viewers, what I want to tell is that we have no solutions to anything because solutions lie in Pakistan at this point of time. Okay,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
whether those solutions will be even taken into account, also we don't know. We don't have a clue about it. We are only trying to present all sides of the problem and not give you a single a view of what's happening. Your comment on this, what I've tried to put across,
Yeah.
so that
I was going to say that. Thanks for giving me the opportunity, sir. China has some problems. It doesn't have its own aircraft engine, to the best of my knowledge. It doesn't
Yeah.
have it. It needs to get it from Russia, or it needs to get it from somebody else. That's one problem. Second problem is, to the best of my knowledge, Russia has not sold anything beyond S-300 to China because as Russia feels that these guys are just reverse engineering our stuff, then passing it off as their own. And that is what J21 or JN21, something like that. That got beaten up badly in Iran too. And in fact, they fired the guy. In fact, they think that he's dead. The guy who designed the J20, which is the stealth version of F-35 made by China, and they tested that against the JN21, which is the S-300 knockoff enhanced for being able to detect this. And neither of them worked, and so somebody has to go. So China, I don't know why it's painting itself into this kind of a corner. Semiconductors, they are cut off, completely cut off. ASML is muttering because they are saying, oh, 20% of our business is gone because we cannot sell anything into China. I know Advanced AMD, Advanced Applied Materials, AMD, which is the biggest tools manufacturers for semiconductor fab, they were murmuring the same thing, that we have lost 20% of our business. This is during Biden administration time, when everybody was asked to just get out of China and come. That has not been reversed yet. So China, it's cut off there. It doesn't get this access to cheap oil, so that its power plants also will have a problem. It's not getting the technology now. And why does then it try to instigate or use Iran to fight a much more better equipped rival? I don't know, sir.
Well, that's China for you. Will not this thing. We'll examine China down the line, right? Now let me get ahead with a few more interesting things which have come up. One, Tausig TV, which is I think based in Europe somewhere. It says there are hardline IRGC factions turning on each other, and and there's some public demonstrations of all this. The interesting part is that the regime, what I've been saying from beginning, the regime itself, the various factions could crack. So Iran has it this. So if that might not happen immediately, it might happen once the deal is struck and there's a regime in change. And that's one of the things which we'll discuss down the line. The indications are there, and if this man reports is even true by an iota of truth in it, there'll be problem. He says what began as internal dissent is now escalating into open threats against senior leadership, with hardliners rejecting negotiations and targeting officials tied to the deal. If the deal is not perceived as beneficial to these hardliners, let me tell you, Iran might have an internal problem far more than what we have imagined. So
Correct.
that's why I say, right, don't write off anything in this game which is not yet done. The thing comes here. These are the critical issues. We spoke of it yesterday evening. What is the control of the Hormuz Strait? What is the nuclear enrichment? What is the 60%? What to do with the 60% enriched fuel? What about sanctions? What about proxies? What will be the regime outlook? And these are the issues on which you have to judge whatever is going ahead. Don't go by what Iran says, what USA says, or what some fool says. What even we say, judge it by these factors. Right? Yeah, your views. Otherwise, I'll turn to Pakistan.
Thank you, sir. I don't have much to say except that even if they concede to give up some uranium that will be stored in Russia, I don't think they'll give up all of it. I don't think US will want them to give up all of it. They want a hook there. After all, only with that hook will they be able to sell more arms and ammunition to all the other GCC countries.
Yeah.
Dhande ka sawal hai, right?
What you're saying is wheels within wheels. There are wheels within wheels in this whole process going. So we'll see folks, as to how this whole thing. I think it's a very interesting point which you brought up. So we'll look. Now I'll turn to Pakistan. Because we have to understand where Pakistan is. What are the look? Pakistan might be playing a role of a mediator and all, but it's not simple. It's not simple. Okay, I'll show you various facets of where Pakistan is. First and foremost, they did the gaffe of posting whatever White House said. So it comes out White House knew about Pakistan ceasefire post or next before it was sent. We knew. We now know what it is. We also now know Pakistan gave one version to Iran, one version to the public, and one version to USA. Right? And that's what Mr. Shrihayar also said. So Pakistan has, before the negotiations have started, Pakistan is a discredited negotiator or mediator, if you call it a mediator, or a conduit which is at best rusty, because you don't know the water which you drink out of it will kill you or not. Okay, then but Pakistan has an image of itself. Okay, you must listen to their own way of looking at it. They think from Tokyo to London, everyone is saying Baba about Pakistan.
ताला किसी को अता करता है. आज पाकिस्तान को अल्लाह ताला ने ये जो इज्जत अता फरमाई है, पाकिस्तान की तारीख में इट इज द मोस्ट शाइनिंग मोमेंट. टोक्यो से लेकर लंदन तक और कासाब्लांका से लेकर कोलालमपुर तक टेलीविजन और तमाम जो इदारे जो हैं, जिस तरह आज पाकिस्तान का जिक्र कर रहे हैं, इस तरह का मंजर देखते आप कभी नहीं देखते.
Can you pause for a second? अरे भैया ठीक से बोला ना, टोक्यो से टोरंटो तक, ताकि राइम ठीक से हो जाए.
But look, we need to have some entertainment also, isn't it? That's why I've got this. Yeah.
Pakistan has changed forever. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Pakistan has changed forever. Pakistan has been changing forever ever since it has come. But that's a different story. Yeah.
From Karachi to Peshawar, जिसे दुनिया इज्जत और तकरीम की निगाह से देख रही है, तो ये इज्जत जो दी है, ये किसी एक फर्द या हुकूमत की नहीं, ये पूरी कौम की है. एक आम आदमी की है, एक हारी की है, एक किसान की है, एक मजदूर की है, एक तांगाबान की है, एक दुकानदार की है, एक सियासतदान की है, एक अफसर की है, एक यतीम की है, एक बेवा की है. ये पूरी कौम की इज्जत है. कुरान करीम में आता है, या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनु तक़ुल्लाह वक़ूलू क़ौलन सदीदा.
So this fellow is also
like Punjabi.
No. This fellow has also started quoting from the Quran, and this is like typical of Pakistan. It celebrates a victory before the event. Okay. Everyone knows where it is, but then look at what Hamid Mir says. If you think this is what it is, look at what there is internal problems, and Hamid Mir is quite he's got his own angles and all, but at some level he represents something, and you listen to him.
तो वो लोग जो ये कहते हैं کہ جناب دیکھیے نا، ہم نے تو کمال کر دیا جی، ٹرمپ بھی ہماری تعریف کر رہا ہے، ایران بھی ہماری تعریف کر رہا ہے جی، سعودی عرب بھی ہماری تعریف کر رہا ہے، ہم نے تو کمال کر دیا۔ چلیں کمال کر دیا آپ نے، لیکن اوپر ایک اللہ تعالیٰ بھی تو بیٹھا ہے نا، اللہ تعالیٰ بھی تو ہمیں دیکھ رہا ہے۔ یہ دنیا کا سب سے جھوٹا آدمی جو ٹرمپ ہے اور دنیا کا سب سے ظالم آدمی نیتن یاہو، یہ دونوں کٹھے ہیں، ایک طرف کٹھے ہیں، دونوں دشمن ہیں مسلمانوں۔ تو یہ جو ہے اگر کسی کی تعریف کرتے ہیں تو کیا وہ جو تعریف ہے وہ کوئی آپ کی خوبی بن جائے گی؟ دیکھیں، ٹرمپ جیسا جھوٹا آدمی کسی سچے انسان کی بھی تعریف کرے تو وہ سچا انسان بھی مشکوک بن جائے گا۔ اس لیے اب ہم اس سٹیج پر پہنچ گئے ہیں کہ ہمیں امن کے لیے کوشش ضرور کرنی چاہیے، سیز فائر کے لیے کوشش ضرور کرنی چاہیے، لیکن ہمیں اب یہ کوشش نہیں کرنی چاہیے کہ ہم ٹرمپ کو بھی خوش رکھیں اور ہم ایران کو بھی خوش رکھیں اور باقیوں کو بھی خوش رکھیں، کیونکہ یہ جھوٹ اور سچ کے درمیان نیوٹرلٹی کا جو ڈرامہ ہے اور یہ جو چکر ہے یہ ہمیں خراب کر سکتا ہے۔ سمپل، بڑی سمپل سی بات کر رہا ہوں میں، بڑی عام فہم اور سادہ بات کر رہا ہوں، اس میں کوئی مشکل نہیں ہے۔ کچھ لوگ کہیں گے وہ جی ڈپلومیسی کے بڑے تقاضے ہوتے ہیں جی، حکمت کے کچھ تقاضے ہوتے ہیں جی، دیکھیں جی آپ کو تو ڈپلومیسی میں تو سپر پاور ہے امریکہ، اس کو بھی ساتھ لے کے چلنا ہے، اور ایران جو ہے وہ اس کو بھی ساتھ لے کے چلنا ہے۔ اب مشکل ہو گیا ہے، اب ایسا نہیں ہوگا۔ اب اگر آپ یہ کام کرنے کی کوشش کریں گے تو آگے چل کر بڑی مشکلات ہو سکتی ہیں۔ اور سب سے بڑی بات یہ ہے کہ جس نیریٹو کی بنیاد جھوٹ ہو، جو ٹرمپ کا نیریٹو ہے وہ جھوٹ ہے۔ ٹرمپ جب کہتا ہے جی کہ وہ ہاں جی ہم تو سیز فائر چاہتے ہیں، ہاں جی ہم تو امن چاہتے ہیں، وہ نہیں چاہتا، وہ امن نہیں چاہتا، وہ ایران کے تیل کے ذخائر پہ قبضہ کرنا چاہتا ہے، وہ مسلمانوں کو آپس میں لڑانا چاہتا ہے، وہ پاکستان کو ایران کے خلاف استعمال کرنا چاہتا ہے، سعودی عرب کو ایران کے خلاف استعمال کرنا چاہتا ہے، وہ ہمیں آپس میں لڑانا چاہتا ہے، وہ ہمارا دوست نہیں ہے۔ میں ٹرمپ کی بات کر رہا ہوں، میں عام امریکنز کی بات نہیں کر رہا، کیونکہ اس وقت تو ٹرمپ کی سب سے زیادہ مخالفت ایران کی طرف سے ہو رہی ہے، اور ٹرمپ کی سب سے زیادہ مخالفت امریکہ کے جو عام سٹیزنز ہیں ان کی طرف سے ہو رہی ہے۔ تو ایران کے جو عام لوگ ہیں اور امریکہ کے جو عام لوگ ہیں اور پاکستان کے عام لوگ ہیں وہ ایک پیج پہ آ چکے ہیں ٹرمپ کے خلاف اور نیتن یاہو کے خلاف۔
Yeah. So he's very clear. So actually Pakistan is caught between a rock and a hard place. And it's caught within its own lies. You heard that chap saying, from Tokyo to London and, Casablanca to Kuala Lumpur, Pakistan, Pakistan, Pakistan. And this chap is giving out a different reality. So your views on this? Let me get...
Sir, this is very clear, similar to what I said, that even if they say that they have got nuclear things out of enriched uranium out of the silos buried deep inside Iran, they're not going to get all of it. US will not want this thing to become permanently solved. They have their own MIL complex that needs to still make money selling stuff to all these GCC countries. In fact, the GCC countries will be more scared. They'll say, okay, let me buy more stuff. What else do you have? In fact, India also might be able to sell BrahMos and all the other things to these countries. Who knows? And this is going to be an arms race. Iran may say, okay, we are going to do this, but they are going to rebuild. They're not going to... You have to keep people engaged. 80 million people is a lot. And many of them very qualified too. What are you going to do? This guy's whole life was spent making, rockets or missiles or some electronic stuff that goes into this thing, some monitoring, some this thing, that. What are you going to do? The guy is still alive. People have not been killed. And they need to be kept busy. That's the interesting thing about the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire, after a while, started capturing new land, not because they wanted to, but because they had to keep their army occupied. They just kept going, go, just keep buying, just keep occupying. And at one point, what happened was the supply line got broke. That's when they said, okay, enough, we have to get back. Sir.
Yeah. Now let's look at what Israel feels about, after all, like I said, Israel has a lot of agency in this deal, right? So let's look at the Israeli viewpoint.
Pakistan's role in the conflict, also China. But Pakistan, I'm asking because it doesn't have relationship with Israel, diplomatic relationship. Do you even see Pakistan as a credible mediator, a country which is hostile?
We don't see Pakistan as a credible player. I think that the United States has decided to use the services of the facilitation of Pakistan for their own reasons. We have seen in the past how the United States has managed to take problematic states like Qatar and Turkey and use them for the benefit of achieving an agreement with Hamas. So maybe they will use the facilitation services of Pakistan to bring in the serve of diplomacy this time. It's their decision. For us, it is very important to stay in sync with the United States when it comes to the substance and the essence of the outcome we want to see.
Right. So it's very clear. The Israelis don't trust Pakistan. If Pakistan plays the fool, Israelis will do something. So this is a Chakravyuh which is going on. Right. We have to understand this. This is on completely. That's why I go back to what I showed in the beginning. This ceasefire is in the rocky islands of Hormuz. It's still in choppy waters. Okay. And this is all happening at a time when 90% of foreign investment in Pakistan has exited. There are huge exits from Pakistan. People are withdrawing their money from Pakistan in any way they can because things are going bad in Pakistan. So the world, you know, that fellow might be thinking, oh, Casablanca to Kuala Lumpur, I'm on cloud 9. But the cloud 1 to 8, which is under this, the cloud 9 is falling away. Okay. And then they've already, this is fact. All markets, malls, shopping areas are to close by 8 p.m. Eateries, marriage events to be closed by 10 p.m. That's it. Pakistan doesn't have power to live at night. They're going back to the dark ages. So things will go bad because Pakistan might be on cloud 9 for everything. But what happens? No one's giving them money for it. If they don't give money, they don't give oil, no nothing. How will Pakistan run? Pakistan is shutting shop. We have to understand that. Now, amidst all this, you know, our external affairs minister has made a trip to UAE. This is the first one. So there is value. So people think that India is not involved in this deal, all that. No. We've been doing our trick. The only thing probably, if I can find fault with the Indian establishment is, we should have come out with an official statement to say how to go about it. We are not for it, and you know, peace, and we should negotiate and things like that. But that's okay. That's not a big deal. Even if it's not done, so be it. And because everyone needs India, and you know, this is the first trip from UAE, from India to UAE. Important. That's important. The second thing is,
before we go to that point, I heard a rumor that Vikram Misri, along with Sergey Gore, met with President Trump. That is actually a good, I mean, this is a step up in protocol. You won't go and meet Trump.
There's an official photograph where he is with Marco Rubio, which has come out already.
Right.
Mystery, Marco Rubio and Sergio Gore. Picture has come out.
That's there. Right.
If he has met with Trump, well, they might not want to publish it or publicize it.
Yeah. That's the story. Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at it. Actually, you said it. We have got an outreach to the Gulf. We've got an outreach to USA. And if you heard in the past 2-3 days, the Iranian special representative in India has been speaking, you know, for India, about India and India. Look, if there's anything, people might not agree with me, but I think India is a lifeline for Iran.
Yeah. For 100%, sir. Yeah.
So
I don't know if you had a chance to watch my thing on Shukracharya, sir. How all these things evolved. Viewers, if you have seen Shukracharya video, whether it's in Hindi or English or in Tamil, I put it in all 3 languages. Take a moment to take a look at how all these things evolved over a period of thousands of years. Sir, back to you.
Yeah. So we are in the game everywhere, and you know, this is another major thing which has come out, which people need to understand. India's of course, India and China have started ordering immediate shipments of Iranian crude after the announcement of a 2-week ceasefire between US and Iran. See, this is a major thing from many points of view. Now, this shipment which will come, or the order which you have placed on Iran, because no sanctions on Iran, so you can place. So it solves your energy problem from a shorter distance. It circumvents the Hormuz problem completely. Whatever the deal on Hormuz, Iran will deliver.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're getting it close by, so your transportation charges reduce, and or you negotiate. Now for China, their lifeline is opened, which was stuck, but they have to pay a heavier price. We've been not getting discounted oil. We're getting oil at the normal market rate, spot rates, or forward rates, future rates, and all that. But for China now, that discounted oil is gone. You just think China doesn't get discounted oil from Russia, China doesn't get discounted oil from Iran, China doesn't get discounted oil from Venezuela. See what's the hit it's going to have on China. We'll talk of that separately.
Yeah.
Right? I think we have finished for today what we had to speak and all that. So your views on this whole story, sum it up, and then we'll take some questions.
The future of Iran, only Iranians have to decide, and let's hope that the people who are representing the interests of Iran keep that in mind. Not IRGC. IRGC is not the representative of Iran. Iranian people have a voice. Let's hope and pray that whether it is Agrachi or Galibi, Speaker of the Parliament, Galibaf, that they understand that there is a world outside of IRGC. They may have to convince the people of Iran, don't lynch the remaining IRGC people to death. That's the amount of anger the people of Iran have on the IRGC cadres. They'll have to figure out a way how to do that. But they need to speak for the people of Iran. I hope they do that, and they need to really sign this thing fast. Look, you may hate America, you may hate the way they do business, but America also made a lot of countries prosperous. Japan, Germany, South Korea, they were completely razed to ground after the Second World War. They're nothing. And it was America, American aid, American help that helped them get back up on their feet. And America will do the same thing to Iran too. But you have to understand how history has, looked at how, United States has done for those where it goes and, attacks. It does give a helping hand. This time they also have India, which might also be wanting to help, because India has its own few objectives in Iran. And once those are in alignment, India will help. There is no reason why India can't help.
Yeah, there's a huge opportunity. I agree with you. There's a huge opportunity for India in reconstruction of Iran and the Gulf.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I have no doubt about it. But let's see how it goes. These are, thoughts. We'll see. Before I take on a few questions and your views, I'd like everyone to subscribe to PGurus and Ganashot. Right? Those of you from PGurus, subscribe to Ganashot. Those of you from Ganashot, please do subscribe to PGurus. Right? So that you get a holistic idea of what we are discussing. At times we come together, at times we don't come together. That's more due to, what shall I say, our own commitments and coordination, things like that. Otherwise, we are almost functioning seamlessly. I want to put that on record to everyone. Right? Okay, I'd like to thank Kumar for your super sticker. Then Abhishek, he says, respected sir, isn't that two buffoons are fighting for petrodollar and petro terror regime when the world is suffering? Yeah, you will, sir.
No, look, it is true, but it's not. It's a culmination of a lot of things. Abhishek, you are right. It is holding the world to ransom, and it's hurting America also. It's not like it's not hurting America. Just give some time. Saner heads have to prevail. You've tried. I think Iran has proved its point that it doesn't matter how many times you block us, we can find ways around that. It has proved that point. 100%. There is no doubt about that. So it's got a certain amount of respect. But, leave this whole thing with your head held high. That's my 2 cents, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, fine. Right. Gen Ravi Shankar, every time I think Pak is getting beaten up, some or the other thing comes up and Pak gets the publicity limelight. We should not discount Iran, Pak, China nexus and ensure it breaks this nexus. See, I go with you since the question is to me, I'm taking it on. I go with you with this thing that Pak is a nation which we have always probably discarded, and we should never do that. He's a wily operator. He is a vulnerable guy who knows how to survive. If you always think, you see beggars on the street, they know how to survive. And, there's no choice. So they will survive. And these chaps are intelligent guys. All said and done, the Pakis are intelligent. The only problem is their intelligence is in the wrong direction. That's about all. Right? It is the top elites and all these fellows are interested only in making money for themselves. They are not looking at the people of Pakistan. If only they had looked at the people of Pakistan, Pakistan would have been a very highly flourishing nation by now, state by now. I mean, it's not a nation, it's a state. But that's not how it is. So, and as far as Iran, Pak, China is concerned, I think all three of them have been knocked hard. Today, China, Pak nexus is virtually not there. It's not there. China is in a bad shape. China can't help Pakistan anymore the way we thought it would. I mean, I see the two-front system receding. Then you look at Iran. You'll see the dynamics of Iran as they emerge. We just discussed reconstruction of Iran, getting Iran back into the international fold. Won't augur well for China at all. So they might still trade with China. That's a different story. Even we trade with China. Well, India also has a huge trade with China. Doesn't mean that it extends to geopolitical influence. Please understand that. That's the point you have to understand. Okay, Sivram Krishnan says, everyone is a loser in the war and there are no real winners. Your views, sir?
No, I don't think so, Sivram Krishnan. US is a winner. It gets to reassert its petrodollar. Russia is a winner. India is a big winner. You have to understand what happens once war stops. People have to pick up their lives. For that, they need basic tools and things of that nature. China is a big loser. So, yes, I think there are winners in this. And US also may lose some respect. The GCC is always going to be looking at US as, will you be able to come next time? That's the one.
See, from day one, I have been saying that the three winners of this war are USA, Russia, and India. That has not changed. Okay, you might view anything. That's why I said, if you don't focus only on the military aspects of this war, there are clear winners, and that is the real story. Okay. Does US military control all the chokepoints? Panama, Gibraltar, Suez, Bosphorus, Turkey, Malacca, Luzon, Sunda, and all that. It's not that. I don't put it this way. They don't control all the choke points. They have the ability to choke all the choke points. Right. And they have reasonable control over many choke points. Panama, it has reasonable control. Gibraltar, yes. Suez Canal, yes, because it supports Egypt. There's a treaty between Egypt and USA on this issue. Luzon, Sunda, and Malacca and all, again, it has very clear, it can control. But the straits which are problematic are the Red Sea, Bab el Mandab, and Hormuz. But I think after this something will happen. Your views, sir, if you have.
No, you're right. I don't have anything to add to that. You're absolutely right. US military has some control, but it's waning. It's not as good as it used to be. This war has proven that.
A similar thing is Iran blocking navigation in its own territorial waters, or is Iran blocking international waters, thereby violating UNCLOS? your view, or I can
No,
handle.
you go ahead, sir. This is the technical thing. It's actually
Yeah,
territorial waters, but
indeed.
should
Yeah, and
UNCLOS override that?
yeah, the point is, as per UNCLOS or territorial water, whatever the definitions are, in any situation of a strait, any passage of water between two land masses, the as per UNCLOS, the territorial waters are split. See, territorial seas are 200 kilometers, or I mean, no, 10 or 20 kilometers.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the right. 20 kilometers, I think, is territorial sea. After that, it's exclusive economic zone and all that. Now, here in this case, if you put the territorial water limit in the Strait of Hormuz, they overlap. So the territorial waters in such a situation is midway, in, as per UNCLOS. Okay, so the blocking of navigation by in the Strait of Hormuz exceeds the territorial waters of Iran. And what's more, some of these in the territorial waters there are islands which are disputed. Tuns, both the greater lesser Tun and Hormuz, and I think one more.
Abu Musa. Abu Musa. Abu Musa.
Yeah, Abu Musa, not Hormuz. Abu Musa and Siri are all disputed between UAE and Iran, though Iran is occupying it today. It's under dispute.
Right.
So you having a disputed set of islands in the strait, and there's a dispute within the strait, and the territorial waters overlap and all that. It's a confusing situation. But let's be very clear: Iran has gone and mined the territorial waters of Oman, so it has violated already. All this will go in against it in the longer run. Yeah, thanks a lot, Yalapu, for your super sticker. Thanks a lot, Ramakrishna, Vinayak Murthy. General, why is everyone so certain that India cannot manage a failed Pakistan next door when India is already handling a messy neighborhood quite well? Well, I've never said we can't manage a failed Pakistan. We've been managing it for the past 30 years. You think Pakistan has been a success for the past 30 years? No, it's a failed state already. The problem is it's plumbing new depths of failure. We can handle it. We have no problem. I have no problem at all handling. We already have a fence. We don't let anyone come. What is the problem of failure? That people will come to India. They'll not come to India. We'll not allow them. As simple as that. So I don't think that's an issue. Japan was completely busted after World War II and rebuilt by USA. Will the USA do the same if there is regime change? Yeah, your view. I think you already said it.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will. United States, not only United States, it could be a consortium of countries. United States, UAE, India, probably. Everybody stands to benefit from this. And see, you want a big country to become prosperous and become responsible. Remember, 80 million people have to be fed. They have to be clothed. They have to be kept happy. How are you going to do that? You can't just keep on hating US. That's what these people always do. Externalize something and say, this is the reason for your misery. And that needs to change. Maybe US may not be acceptable to the Iranian population right away, but India will be. US can say, okay, I'll give you the thing and you just make sure that these things are met. India can do a more than capable job of fixing up Iran's infrastructure. Absolutely.
Iran is unpopular with Democrats and Republicans. Is that why Israel pushed for the Iran war in haste? Complete failure by US and Israel. Your views?
No, I don't think so. Pristine, Israel practically runs United States. If you ask people, they say Israel runs United States. And it doesn't matter, Republicans or Democrats. They have access into all these people. They spend a lot of money. And Israel, Jewish Americans are one of the most, they are one of the richest lot. People are not even looking at, see, that percentage of people, Jewish Americans, is very, very small. Yet look at the number of people who are, so powerful. Chuck Schumer is a Jew.
Yeah, I go with you. Okay, the last question. Don't you think the US military's poor planning is exposed with this war, as I was skeptical about Strait of Hormuz being blocked by Iran and the US had no plans to keep it open or didn't think of it? Look, I completely agree with you. I think it was very poor assessment and planning by the US in going into this war. And this assessment failed on many counts. One is the military thing. As a student of military history, one should know that that strait would have been hit one. They should have secured that strait first. If they had secured the strait in some manner, things wouldn't have come to this head. That's the first thing. And second, I think there's a political misjudgment. In thinking that they'll be able to wrap it up Venezuela style. They didn't do the political preparation first. And they went wrong by what happened in the first week of Jan. So I think they made a mistake. And we'll discuss more of this as we go along, because these are the lessons of war which we will learn. Right? There's a thing. I think we've come to the end of all the questions.
Yeah.
So your final words, and then you can close the show.
This is just the beginning of a very long period of first ceasefire negotiations that will not happen all the way. Somebody will always renege on this. They'll be fighting again. There'll be again, people will sit down again. And see, look at Ukraine, right? It's now a year and 4 months or something like that since Trump came to power. He said on day one, I'm going to stop it. Couldn't stop it. So this is another one, and the two are linked, and there are many articles that are showing why the two are linked. Today, yesterday evening, you had an excellent presentation from General Dushyant Singh in Three Good Generals, how he linked up what is happening here and Ukraine, and how these three countries, Iran, China, and Russia, three legs of a stool, and how they have helped each other out. Very, very compelling presentation. Take a look at that and you'll understand what it is. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So we'll get back later as we get time with each other, and we'll continue this Good Morning India show and morning. But I must tell you, I'm going to be a bit irregular because I am out of Chennai, and I come here for other issues, basically for indigenization and Atmanirbharta story, which I think is more important than taking this show on every day.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and we'll meet later. Thank you. Jai Hind to everyone.